Good morning and welcome to the show. No Paul Gascoigne with us this week. He's obviously off with the England crew in Poland, but I'm here in Brescia in northern Italy and you're there at home in front of the telly, so let's crack on with another edition of Gazzetta Football Italia. Here's Ken with all the details.
Coming up, an amazing game. Inter against Foggia, a penalty miss and a sending off that could decide the Serie A championship. James Richardson delves behind the headlines for all the week's news. All 28 goals from Serie A, including a double from Germany's unsettled Stefan Effenberg that could keep Fiorentina in the top flight. A trip to Italy and other top prizes to be won in this week's competition. The end of a dream for media magnate Silvio Berlusconi as his Milan millionaires go down to Marseille in the European Cup final. At home with David Platt in Turin as the England captain reviews the ups and downs of the season and his thoughts on staying with Juventus. We take a close look at £9 million Argentinian striker Abel Balbo, whose 21 goals have given Udinese a chance of Serie A survival. And James Richardson previews tomorrow's live clash at the San Siro, which could land Milan the title and condemn Brescia to Serie B.
All of that coming up, but first, a little controversy in the highlights of the Inter-Foggia game that's caused such a storm here in Italy this week. Your commentator is Gary Bloom.
This is Foggia's 20th visit to play in the San Siro Stadium for a league game. They've never won a match here. So they're aiming to create a little bit of history for themselves. But they line up against an Inter team in really good form at the moment. Inter undefeated in their last 18 Serie A matches. Their last defeat was against Lazio back in the middle of December. Berti leaves the ball. Battistini has it. Berti wins it back now for Inter. D'Agostini. Sousa. Good incisive raid here by Inter early on. And that should be the goalkeeper's ball. Mancini with an uncertain fist away. And his uncertainty almost led to the first goal of the game for Inter. Sousa with a corner, still goalless. Berti was the man who got his head to the ball. Well, that's a terrific stop by Mancini. Got down brilliantly to his right to divert that ball away, and he must have seen it very, very late indeed. It came through a crowd of players, and Maniconi really hit this ball with some venom. So a promising start for Inter. 8 is Maniconi. Bonacciari tried to hold him back, but couldn't do so. And Inter's leading goal scorer has done it again. 6 goals now in his last 7 matches. Who can stop Rubin Sousa? That goal by Sousa arriving after 27 minutes of the game. It's a goal that Inter have richly deserved. Although having said that, for all their... This really was a rash challenge by Mancini. Berti was going away from goal and would have struggled to keep that one in play. 1-0 to Inter. Sousa with a penalty. And the referee wants it to be retaken. Presumably there was encroachment by the Inter players just before Rubin Sousa took the kick. Now, will Rubin Sousa's nerve hold? He has to retake the penalty. And misses! Oh! And the man who's been so efficient and so reliable in front of goal has missed this gilt-edged opportunity. D'Agostini. Petrescu has missed the ball. Sousa! Good stop by Mancini, who did Dan Petrescu a big favour then. That was a horrific error by the Romanian international. This time the goalkeeper stood up to Rubin Sousa. Vincenzo Souza. Tramezzani. Panchev. The two substitutes combining now for Inter. Berti almost comes to Inter's aid with this shot on goal, but it wasn't well struck by the Inter midfield player. Wonder if Inter will rue that penalty miss after half an hour of the game. Roy. Shano sent crashing by that tackle. Xhaka. Roy. Quite sportingly, Bergamy puts the ball out of play so that Seno can have some attention for a foul committed by Tramezzani. Quite rightly, Tramezzani is going to be cautioned here because his... And in fact, the referee has his red card out, so Tramezzani is going to be sent off. And there's some disagreement now because the referee has sent off D'Agostini in what I can only assume is a case of mistaken identity. Tramezzani saying it was me who did it, and Luigi D'Agostini has been sent from the pitch for simply witnessing a teammate committing a horrific foul. Berti claiming handball, I think against Caini. Vincenzo. Free kick to Foggia. It's an untidy end to the match. Inter can only blame themselves after missing a penalty after half an hour when they were leading by a goal to nil. Biagioni. 3 minutes remaining of the game, and Inter's championship hopes have been punctured by Brian Roy. And Inter are suggesting by the elbow of Brian Roy. He didn't seem to make a clean contact on that ball, but it doesn't matter. And what a controversial ending to the game. Battistini. Is there time for one last thrust here for Inter, who really have thrown this game away?
Now let's go behind the headlines for all the week's news from James Richardson.
That 1-1 Inter-Foggia draw has certainly stirred up a hornet's nest here in Italy. Inter feel that their chances of reaching Milan and the title have been prematurely ended by some particularly erratic refereeing, and the papers here echo their cries. For example, this in Tuttosport, the devil dresses in black. It wasn't just the Foggia goal, which the scorer Roy admitted that same evening was a handball. It was also the curious case of Tramezzani. Simple, you just ask a linesman standing over 60 metres away. Well, naturally enough, Inter are enraged at this officiating. Their Director General, Pietro Boschi, has actually threatened to resign over the issue, and the club has asked the Federation for the match to be replayed. As yet, the Federation doesn't know what to do, but they have in the meantime delayed entering the 1-1 result as the official result of the game while they decide whether a rematch is in order. Walter Zenga, though, will definitely receive 2-game suspension after his apparently abusive complaints to the referee at the final whistle. Politeness is clearly a priority for the referee, a certain Signor Brignocoli, who told TV reporters when approached for an interview on Monday, "Get off my nuts or I'll call the police." Inter are unlikely to be able to replay this game, and that's good news at least for AC Milan, who thus are on the verge of confirming their championship. Milan are in need of a bit of cheering up right now, of course, after blowing that European Cup final against Marseille on Wednesday night. This after dominating the entire event all the way through, taking only 2 goals in their 10 games. One of those, though, came rather decisively in the final, after which viewers around the world were treated to very rare pictures of Milan boss Silvio Berlusconi not smiling. For the papers here, the defeat marks the end of an era. Gazzetta has, "Old Milan, it's a bitter goodbye." And Tuttosport echoes a lot of other papers with this, "Rijkaard and Gullit, it's finished at Milan." Gullit has still yet to receive any positive signs from the club about a contract renewal, while his friend Rijkaard, probably influenced by Ruud's treatment by Milan this season, has decided to call it quits in June. He'll be going to either Ajax or some other club outside Italy, but definitely not, he says, another Italian club. Well, big changes probably also underfoot down in Naples soon after the shock news this week that another Serie A owner has been arrested. After Longarini at Ancona and Ciarapico at Roma comes Corrado Faleno at Napoli. Faleno has been the owner of Napoli since 1969, but he was arrested this week on corruption charges after giving £300,000 to local politicians in return for contracts for his businesses. The news sent the papers, as you may imagine here, into shock. Or choc, as they call it here. Here's the Corriere. Napoli choc. I think I had one of those last week, actually. Faleno in the middle of the storm. Not a surprise to everybody, though. Here's our old friend Diego Maradona, who tells us, but I expected it. It's actually very difficult to stay out of trouble in Italy, he tells us. Well, for some people more than others, I'd say, Diego. Well, finally on to news of Gianluca Vialli, who raised eyebrows all over Italy on Sunday evening. Firstly, because he broke a press silence that dates back to last December. And secondly, because of what he said. Here it is in Monday's Corriere dello Sport. Vialli, I want to go back to Samp. Well, in fact, the Gazzetta dello Sport about 3 weeks ago ran a story that Vialli had actually asked the Juventus management if they could send him back home. But their response then was the same response they're giving now. And that's a fairly dry no. Well, Juventus are, of course, rather less definite about keeping hold of David Platt. He's the subject of Sampdoria interest as well, of course. And in fact, Isabella Stasi-Castriotto went up to Turin, to David's home this week, to talk to him about his future. You can see that report coming up later in the show. I myself went to Udine, where I spoke with Abel Balbo, the second highest scorer this season in Serie A, despite the fact that he plays for Udinese. You can see that as well coming up later, and also a report from Brescia on how they're getting on in the preparations for their big game with Milan tomorrow. That and goals galore and our competition all coming up. First of all, though, time for a break.
Welcome back. Coming up, life in Turin with David Platt. But first, goal action from Serie A with Gary Bloom.
Ancona and Pescara contested the Adriatic derby. Both clubs were already preparing for next season's Serie B campaign. Ancona in the all-red strip opened the scoring in an entertaining match after 7 minutes through Agostini. When the two sides met in January, the fixture ended 4-3 in Pescara's favour, and this meeting provided another high-scoring game. Pescara was soon level when John Sieverbeck's long-range effort caught the goalkeeper Nista unawares. The Dane has suffered a disappointing season, but at last he could take solace from scoring his first goal in Serie A, probably his last. Ancona soon regained their advantage through Agostini again. Dottari and Vecchiola setting up the chance. The same three players who combined for the first goal did so again on 26 minutes. 2-1 now to Ancona. Vecchiola was determined to add his name to the score sheet. He was denied by Marchioro there. But 5 minutes before half-time, he thumped in Ancona's third goal of the game. Despite Ancona's relegation, Vecchiola seems destined to move to another Serie A club. Pescara brought down the curtain to the first half fun with another goal scored by Palladini. Borgonovo's first effort cannoned back off the crossbar before the under-21 international calmly converted to bring the score back to 3-2. In the second half, Dunga set up a great scoring pass, sadly for the wrong team. Agostini accepted Pescara's charity to claim a hat-trick. Agostini's goal scoring has been one bright spot in a very dull season for Ancona. The referee, who was making his Serie A debut, was determined to leave his mark on the game and awarded Pescara a penalty 9 minutes from full time. Watch the left arm of the Ancona defender busily tugging away at Borgonovo's shirt. Allegri needed 2 attempts to beat Nista to claim his 10th goal of the season. Reports suggest Allegri could be moving to Inter next year in a £5 million deal. There was still time for the substitute Ermini to score the 8th goal of the game. The best was probably saved until the last. His accurate finish finished the scoring and condemned Pescara to their 14th away defeat of the season. Brescia in the blue shirts were ordered to play their home fixture against Lazio in Trieste as a result of crowd disturbances which occurred during their recent match against Atalanta. Lusardi came close to giving Lazio the lead, Then Florin Raducioiu, whose 2 goals and Brescia appointed Udinese a week ago, spent a good chance to open the scoring at the other end. But early in the second half, Sabau raced clear of Paul Gascoigne and a defender to put the home side ahead. It was an excellent finish by the Romanian, although the goalkeeper perhaps should have had the near post covered. Brescia added a second goal towards the end of the contest when Hagi found himself unmarked in the 6-yard box to convert Rossi's cross. Lazio had never beaten Brescia away from Rome in Serie A in 10 attempts. Hagi's goal made it 11 attempts without a win. In the dying minutes, Hagi orchestrated another move, which Raducioiu failed to round off with a goal. The referee wasn't interested in Brescia's appeals for a penalty. The match ended 2-0 to Brescia, who take a giant step in their bid to avoid relegation. Milan moved their away game at Cagliari back to Friday night to give them 2 extra days preparation for the European Cup final. But Milan's plans were jolted within 3 minutes when Francescoli gave Cagliari the lead. Milan were without Baresi and Costa Curta, who were both suspended, so it took their defenders a little while to settle into the game. A sweet 4-man move involving Lentini, Boban, Gambaro and Massaro resulted in Milan's equaliser. Milan's goal scorer Massaro was hoping to be included in the team for the Champions Cup final in Munich. It's Massaro's first league goal in 4 months, a timely reminder that he wants a regular spot in the team. Five minutes from full-time, Milan, who'd given an uncertain performance, were involved in a pointless feud. Festa of Cagliari and Evani of Milan were both dismissed for their part in this incident. Neither can complain about their sendings off. It ended 1-1. Milan progress at snail's pace towards the title. Fiorentina and Udinese met in Florence in a contest billed as the relegation playoff. Fiorentina had suffered a torturous week in their captain Stefan Effenberg had been singled out for abuse by the home fans. But he responded to their threats with a commendable performance. Manini's response to Delano's free kick was curious to say the least. Manini watched the ball go past him like the wrong bus. 1-0 to Udinese, who then went further ahead just short of the half-hour mark with one of the goals of the week, scored by Marco Branca. The former Fiorentina striker claimed a Serie A record when the two sides met in Udine in January, scoring after 9 seconds. Fiorentina were not prepared for a repeat performance and, spurred on by their passionate supporters, launched a relentless assault on the Udinese goal. Baiano the culprit of that miss. But he redeemed himself when his free kick led to a contentious penalty incident. Baiano's drive struck the arm of a defender and the referee didn't hesitate in awarding the spot kick. Watch how Desideri puts out an arm in his attempt to foil the Neapolitan striker. Stefan Effenberg bravely accepted the responsibility and brought Fiorentina back into the match. In the second half, Udinese, who had squandered a 2-goal advantage against Brescia a week ago, were desperate to hang on to the lead in this game. Effenberg was doing his best to earn Fiorentina a much-needed point. And he succeeded on the hour mark with a well-executed finish. I wonder how the fans will react to him this week. The German international wasn't content with 2 goals and came close to claiming his hat-trick towards the end of the game. Udinese's fans were then given greater cause to panic when Alessandro Orlando was red-carded, leaving Udinese to fight on with just 10 men. Baiano's fine skills then placed Udinese's defence on red alert, but Fiorentina just couldn't find the winning goal. The match ended 2-2. I suspect Fiorentina will be the happier of the two teams with a point.
More goals later, but now it's competition time and your chance to win a trip to a top Italian match early next season. All you have to do is answer a simple question. We've got a feature on star striker Abel Balbo coming up later. He's the man whose 21 goals have almost single-handedly kept Udinese in with a chance of avoiding relegation. He first made his name playing in Italy for his country during the 1990 World Cup final. But where was he born? A. Mexico, B. Argentina, or C. Uruguay? When you've made your choice, ring us on 0891 333 444. The first correct caller picked out by our computer when lines close next Thursday goes into a winner's draw for an all-expenses-paid trip for two to a top match in Italy early next season. They'll also win one of these Italian tracksuits and a pair of football boots. 5 lucky runners-up will take home one of these brand new Italian football videos due for general release in early July. Our winner and runners-up will also be made honorary members of Club Italia and become eligible for all the benefits for the next year. Now, in Gazzetta last week, we asked you to name last year's Italian Cup winners. The answer? A. Parma. This lucky winner was picked out by our computer and wins an Italian soccer watch. These runners-up get an Italian football sticker album. And all our runners-up and winners become members of Club Italia for the next year. And remember, full details of all our competitions are on page 365 of Fortel, Channel 4's teletext service. Munich's Olympic Stadium was the venue for Wednesday night's European Champions Cup final, with most of the 64,000 fans expecting to see Milan canter to victory and make it a Serie A clean sweep of the European titles. After the successes of Parma in the Cup Winners' Cup and Juventus in the UEFA competition, Fabio Capello's Milan assured of themselves, and their much-vaunted offside trap was sprung too often. On this occasion, Boksic put his shot over the top when he should have done better. Milan continued to make the better first-half chances, and Marco van Basten, although a long way below his sharpest, brought the best out of Barthez. It was to be the goal that won the European Cup for Marseille. Multimillionaire owner Silvio Berlusconi was suddenly becoming aware that the vast amount of cash he's pumped into the club wasn't going to buy the prize he wanted most. If it was to be a night of despair for him, congratulations to Marseille, the first French side to lift the trophy in the competition's 37-year history. Last week the celebrations had been for Juventus, winners of the UEFA Cup. Now that had been a night of mixed emotions for David Platt, who'd played his part in earlier rounds but was left out for the final. Isabelle Stasi Castriota has been to Turin to get the views of the England captain on his first season with Juventus.
Last Sunday, Juventus earned a 1-1 draw against Sampdoria. David Platt scored the final goal. Today, it is not just a normal training day for Juventus. Last Sunday's draw could not really satisfy the fans. But there are other reasons to be happy.
This is a great moment for Juventus. Even though the Italian Championship might have produced few great events, the UEFA Cup is giving the team a great feeling. It is a day to celebrate. And appropriately, the sun is shining in Turin.
Turin is not famous for its weather, but for its hard-working citizens and for the car industry. But in fact, on a day like this, the city becomes truly beautiful. Spread around the River Po and surrounded by beautiful hills, it enjoys a unique position, close to the Alps and close to the Italian Riviera. This is Turin's most prestigious residential area. The VIP's beautiful villas are hidden in the green and protected by high gates. We followed David Platt to his retreat.
It's now almost the end of the season, When you look back at the very beginning, when you just arrived in Turin, I mean, have your hopes been sustained? I mean, the season been very much the way you would have liked it to be?
Not the way I would have liked it to be. I think everybody always wants more from the season. We've managed to win the UEFA Cup this season, and as a team, I'm sure that we're disappointed that we haven't won A, the Italian Cup that we got so close to, and B, the Championship that we wanted at the start of the season, because that is the main thing for all Italian supporters and all Italian clubs, and it looks as though Milan are going to win it for the second year running.
If you think of this first year you spent in Turin, how have you adapted?
Last year when I played at Bari, it was still in the Italian Championship, and I came here maybe in inverted commas as a foreigner, but I'd already had a year's baptism in Italian football. I'd settled down, I'd spoken the language last year in Bari, and to come here I didn't really come, like I say, as a foreigner. It was more of a player who was moving clubs as he would in his own country. I feel as though I've settled down very well. I've had to adapt to a different position and a different way of playing football, because at Juventus, you know, we do have players like Baggio, like Vialli, like Muller who play in front, and therefore my game that has probably been based upon getting forward into attacking positions has had to be sacrificed a little bit because of the amount of players that we've got up front. Like I say, with having to play in a different position, it's probably added something to my game. I was regarded as a midfielder and still regard myself as a midfielder that can get forward and score goals, and when I go back and I play for England, I've been playing up front recently, and it's nice to know that the means I can still scoring goals is still there. Like I said, I think I've added to my game by the defensive qualities that I've had to learn here.
Have you made some new Italian friends?
I think there's a great friendship in football. After all, you're all in the same line of work. Certainly at your club level, you see each other every day, you train with each other every day. Certainly there's a certain amount of competition.
Who's your best friend here?
I don't have a best friend. I like to think that I'm respected by everybody, and I respect everybody.
Is there something that you would do differently?
No, not a great deal. There's nothing I wouldn't do differently. I think anybody can always look back, and life is full of ifs and buts. But to be honest, I think it's gone well. Like I say, we've won the UEFA Cup, and anybody to win a major trophy like that in his first year has got to be satisfied with the year that he's put in.
So plans for the next season?
Nobody knows what's going to happen. I think you know, there's been a lot of things in the newspapers, but to believe newspapers is fatal, really. Ever since I scored a goal against Belgium in the World Cup finals, I've had to live with speculation about where David Platt's going to be playing the season after next. I've never really taken any notice of it, and when it does happen, and if it does happen, then I'll speak about it. But right at this moment in time, I've got a 3-year contract at Juventus, another 2 years for it to run, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm still a Juventus player.
Welcome back. Our feature on goal machine Abel Balbo coming up. But first, let's complete the Serie A goal action with Gary Bloom.
Genoa in the red and blue were desperate for points to avoid relegation when they were at home to Parma. Branco, the Brazilian, was soon putting Parma's goal under threat. Parma have claimed the Cup Winners' Cup this season by playing quick, accurate football. And it was in evidence again on 27 minutes when Asprilla gave them the lead, making it 1-0. Parma, already assured of a place in next year's Cup Winners' Cup, had little to play for, but that didn't stop them pressing. Genoa almost grabbed an equaliser from a most unusual route. Bortolazzi's long ball is almost turned past his own goalkeeper by Matricano. Ruotolo's incisive ball almost opened up Parma's defence. Panucci's run is checked by Benarivo. In the second half, Genoa's efforts became increasingly desperate. Scoravi's flick-on was met by Ruotolo, and Bortolazzi's denied by an excellent save by Ballotta. Scoravi was soon exhibiting a fruitless willingness to shoot from anywhere. Genoa's equaliser, though, was a curious affair. Fortunato hung in the air as if suspended by a piece of string, and Padovano supposedly is fouled by Minotti. The slow-motion replay shows little contact between the players, but the referee's convinced. Padovano scored the penalty to make it 1-1 in a match Genoa just couldn't afford to lose. Next to the Della Alpi Stadium in Turin, where Sampdoria aim to secure 2 vital points to clinch a place in Europe. Juventus, the new holders of the trophy, will play in the competition next year. After only 4 minutes, Sampdoria opened the scoring through Jugovic, heading in from close range. Peruzzi parried Mancini's powerful shot, but the Sampdoria captain followed up with an accurate cross for Jugovic to score his 9th goal of the season. Here's Mancini again setting up another Sampdoria attack, but Conte's acrobatic clearance denied Vjekevod a scoring chance. Who then strangely neglected a corner from Jugovic. Fortunately for Juventus, Peruzzi kept his concentration and cleared off the line. Juve's best chance of the half arrived from the right boot of Di Marchi. Nucciara, standing in for the injured Pagliuca, justified his selection following an embarrassing error which cost Sampdoria a point at Foggia the previous week. His splendid save preserved Sampdoria's lead up to half-time. After the restart, it took Juventus just 2 minutes to equalise. Roberto Baggio's miscue reached David Platt, who revealed he hadn't lost his goal-scoring touch. Platt wasn't selected for either leg of the UEFA Cup final, but masked his disappointment with what might prove to be his last goal in Juve's colours. Midway through the second half, Muller robbed Manini and released Roberto Baggio, and after the number 10 had beaten Vjekevod, Nucciari came to Sampdoria's rescue. Sampdoria's main hopes of a victory rested with their effective if sporadic counter-attacks. Juve's hopes for a point rested in the capable hands of their goalkeeper Peruzzi. Final chance of the game came Juve's way. Muller provided the cross, Marocchi the wayward header. 1-1 then the final score. Sampdoria stay in the hunt for a UEFA Cup place. Torino in the dark red shirts were hoping to put aside their humiliating 5-0 defeat against Cagliari with a win in Naples, and Sergio almost set them on the way early on. Galli, who made the save, then kept out Silenzi with another quality stop. Gazzetta, who was making his final appearance at Napoli's San Paolo Stadium, was eager to leave with a parting gift. Roberto Pollicano, who was signed from Torino last summer, was unfortunate to see his header strike the frame of the goal. Into the second half, and the glaring misses continued, Fonseca missing from 6 yards, before he combined with Pollicano to score one of the best goals seen in Naples this season. Pollicano scored the winning goal past his former club in January. Here he is again, giving Torino a taste of what they've been missing. Torino then had a goal ruled out by the referee. Watch how Silenzi's left arm makes contact with the ball before Aguilera taps the ball into the net. Meanwhile, Gazzetta continued his quest for a goal. Then, with just 9 minutes left, Paolo Poggi levelled the score with a splendid scissor kick. Poggi's made a real name for himself as a super sub this season. One wonders why he hasn't featured in Torino's first team more often. The game ended 1-1. It's the first draw between the two sides in Naples for 9 years. Finally to Rome's Olympic Stadium, where Atalanta were looking to strengthen their hopes for a place in Europe with a win. Roma had the lion's share of possession in the first 20 minutes, and they produced the opening goal via the captain, Giuseppe Giannini. Giannini, surrounded by 4 Atalanta defenders, still managed to find an opening, but perhaps with the aid of an arm. The home side believed they should have been awarded the first of 2 penalties minutes later when Rizzitelli went down under Valentini's challenge, which was followed by Montero's foul on Aldair. The referee waved away both appeals. And Atalanta immediately drew level in rather fortuitous circumstances. Gans provided the shot, which rebounded via the defender onto Alamao's head. Roma, without the suspended Thomas Hessler, relied on the skills of Rizzitelli, who almost carved a goal for himself here. Here he is again, testing the reflexes of the Atalanta goalkeeper. The referee had already blown his whistle before Mitz's header crashed against the crossbar. Then right on the stroke of half-time, Atalanta went 2-1 up. Mihajlovic provided the pass, sadly, to an opposing player. The ball eventually reached Peroni, who finished in style. Mihajlovic blamed his aberration on the whistles from the fans, which he received every time he touched the ball. In the second half, Rizzitelli continued to test the goalkeeper, Pinato, first with the free kick, and subsequently with a close-range effort from Mihajlovic's pass. Atalanta could have wrapped up the 2 points through Maurizio Gans. Schiavone produced the outstanding save. Then Mihajlovic attempted to silence his critics with this free kick. Into the final 10 minutes, and Atalanta once again spurned a glorious chance to seal a victory. Roma still had time for an equaliser, which almost arrived courtesy of an Atalanta defender. And did arrive a minute into stoppage time at the end of the game. Rizzitelli was the creator and the scorer. No one deserved a goal more than Rizzitelli, who put in the work of 2 players. There was one last scare for Roma as Atalanta aimed to pinch the 2 points, but Schiavone wasn't to be beaten and the match ended level.
So 7 draws in last weekend's 9 Serie A games. Inter's dropped point against Foggia means Milan can clinch the title against Brescia tomorrow and gain some consolation for Wednesday's Champions Cup upset. Brescia gave themselves a faint hope of escaping relegation by beating Lazio, but Genoa, Fiorentina and Udinese are also battling for their Serie A lives. Udinese, on paper at least, have the easiest task tomorrow against already relegated Ancona. Tricky games though for Fiorentina at Torino and Genoa at Atalanta. If Udinese survive, they can thank just one man, Abel Balbo, who scored over half their goals this season. James Richardson has been to Udine to talk to the Argentinian striker, who, no matter what, seems certain to be playing his football in Serie A next season.
Phew, it's thirsty work, but week after week he's there in the goal-scoring charts, struggling away in second place, desperately trying to catch up with Lazio's Giuseppe Signori. Who is he? He's Abel Balbo, the highest-scoring striker ever in the history of Udinese, a man destined for great things seemingly next year at Inter, or possibly at Juventus, or maybe even Lazio, and an Argentinian, or perhaps not. Let's start with the facts.
And they are these. Balbo was born 27 years ago this Monday in Argentina. However, after 2 years of applications, as of this February, he is an Italian citizen, complete with the right to vote. The citizenship hasn't changed his status as a foreign player, but despite that and his choke-worthy £9 million price tag, Balbo is one of the most highly in-demand players on this summer's transfer market. Daily mentions in the press have him going everywhere from Brescia to Bayern Munich.
Non leggo queste cose qua perché il calcio in Italia funziona così, no? Di solito quando un giocatore sta facendo un buon campionato subito ti vendono, ti danno le grandi squadre, è un po' il gioco del calcio in Italia. Una cosa sono sicuro, che difficilmente starò qui un altro anno. Voglio anche io cambiare squadra, penso che questo sia il momento giusto.
When you read in the papers that Balbo's worth £9 million or thereabout to some club, how do you react to that?
Secondo me sono cifre pazzesche, non hanno nessuna relazione col calcio. Pagare così tanto un giocatore non ha senso.
Balbo cost Udinese just $2 million when he came here 4 years ago, and although he failed to stop them dropping to Serie B in his first year, in the second he was the division's leading scorer with 22 goals, more than anybody, even the great Zico, had ever scored at the club. After a good start last year, doubts over his continuity arose with just 2 goals in the second half of the season, but this year Balbo has answered his critics with 21 goals so far.
Io tra l'altro ho fatto quest'anno una preparazione molto speciale, non ho fatto le vacanze. Sono rimasto qua a Udine a lavorare duro perché ci tenevo a fare molto bene questo campionato. Questa preparazione mi ha dato risultati eccellenti e questo mi ha aiutato anche molto.
Is it frustrating battling the likes of Signori and co when they're backed by multi-million pound squads and your side is busy fighting relegation?
Sì, ma io sapevo che per me era impossibile arrivare, come ti ho detto prima, fattore squadra soprattutto, no? Quindi lui ha fatto una stagione straordinaria. penso che è giusto, merita vincerla lui questa classifica.
Balbo scored over 50% of Udinese's goals this season, although of late they've been rather harder to come by. 2 weeks ago, for example, against Brescia in a match crucial to Udinese's hopes of avoiding relegation, Balbo failed on 2 important chances. He left the field to the whistles of the fans.
Sì, è stato un momento brutto, però è stato tutto relazionato con queste voci qua di mercato, con sui giornali che dicono che io vado via, che dicono che io mi avevo incontrato con un presidente, quella settimana prima avevano detto che io mi ero incontrato con un presidente, tutte cose che non esistono. Purtroppo la gente, c'è tanta gente che è anche molto ignorante, che segue tante queste cose che non sono vere, quindi hanno fatto una piccola contestazione soprattutto per quelle cose lì.
4 years on, Udine is probably getting a little small for Balbo. It's an agricultural town of only around 100,000 inhabitants up in Italy's northeastern corner, close to Austria and Slovenia. Inter actually thought of taking him away from all this last season, but instead chose to buy Darko Panjev instead, who cost twice as much and has scored 1 goal so far this season. This year, Inter are busy again, though. Balbo's closest friend at Udinese, Delano, is already heading there, and according to the papers here, Balbo will be soon too.
You have quite a relaxing time here at Udinese, apart from some recent problems with the fans. Do you think you'd find it tougher at a big club with the additional pressure and demands?
Secondo me io sono preparato per giocare una grande squadra. Forse sarò un po' presuntuoso, ma io penso che posso fare molto bene in una grande squadra. Sono nell'età giusta, sì, sono molto motivato, penso che questo sia il momento giusto per fare un salto di qualità.
Balbo is a low-key and likeable kind of guy, a family man, popular with the squad. He shoots pool with the guys and plays tennis almost every day to keep his reflexes sharp. Normal enough, but dig deeper and you find more unusual sides to him. For example, he's fervently religious and a devout chess player.
Do you think chess helps your soccer?
Invece aiuta, perché per giocare a scacchi devi essere concentrato sempre al 100%, non puoi distrarti neanche un attimo, perché sennò perdi la partita. E forse ti aiuta molto anche in campo, che devi essere sempre concentrato e non sempre riesci a essere concentrato.
He likes his chess then, and he's pretty serious about his religion too. Balbo attends Mass every Saturday night. He takes a Bible with him on all his travels with the team, and he celebrates his goals on match day with the by now trademark kiss to the heavens that is not intended lightly.
Have you always been this religious?
La fede l'ho avuto sempre, forse si è fatto più forte in un episodio che è successo quando avevo 9 anni, no? Sono stato praticamente morto per qualche minuto e dopo dal niente sono tornato alla vita, quindi neanche i dottori sapevano come era successo questa cosa qua, per una malattia che ho avuto io da piccolo. Quindi penso che da lì si è fatto così forte che adesso sì, è una cosa che porterò sempre con me.
Well, right now, of course, Udinese and Balbo are concerned with salvation of another kind, trying to avoid a swift return to Serie B. They're lying equal with Fiorentina and Brescia just inside the relegation zone currently, and Balbo and co will be taking a very close interest in how Brescia fare tomorrow in their game with Milan.
Ma penso che se il Milan gioca, non sarà stanco, gioca come deve giocare, deve vincere tranquillamente.
E non vi dispiacerebbe neanche?
Non ci dispiacerebbe se pareggiasse.
Of all the groups struggling to avoid relegation, Brescia are probably your most dangerous rivals.
In questo momento sì, perché noi come classifica avulsa contro di loro siamo in svantaggio, quindi meglio se Milan domenica ci dà una mano e li ammazza di una volta per tutte.
Fine Christian sentiments. Well, whether Milan will kill Brescia for once and for all, we'll find out tomorrow afternoon, because of course that game is live here tomorrow on Channel 4. To see how the Brescian sacrificial lambs are preparing for their bout with the champions, it's time now for a quick trip across 300 kilometres of Italian countryside to Brescia. This is our first visit to the Stadio Comunale in Brescia this season, and frankly we couldn't have come at a better time. With the battle to stay in Serie A now reaching a climax, the team here has come alive, notching up some phenomenal results in the last month. Tomorrow though comes their most difficult test of all, at the San Siro against a Milan side still fresh from that slap in the face of Munich.
It all means plenty to think about for Brescia's Romanian coach Matteo Lucescu.
Milan in queste condizioni non è facile, forse se vincevano ieri sera erano già vincitori Coppa Campioni, poi doveva solo festeggiare il titolo, il scudetto e anche la Coppa Campioni, invece adesso troveremo una squadra molto arrabbiata.
E domenica, dato che noi abbiamo forse più stimoli di loro, perché noi lottiamo per salvarci e dobbiamo fare un punto a tutti i costi, quindi sicuramente sarà una grande battaglia.
Brescia are currently on a Romanian-powered run of good results. The goals of Hagi, Sabau and Raduceu in the last month alone have driven Brescia back up the road towards salvation. This week it was Sabau and Hagi to pull off the shock 1-2 over Lazio. Last week 2 from Raduceu, and the squad came back from 2 goals down at Udinese despite playing a man short. 2 more from Raduceu the week before did for Atalanta, and before that this from Sabau for an away draw at Genoa. All in all 4 games, 7 goals all Romanian and 6 vital points.
Essendo 3 rumeni ovviamente abbiamo fatto come ci conosciamo molto bene. Abbiamo fatto molto bene fino adesso, speriamo che, certo, un grande sostegno mi ha dato Hagi perché è un grandissimo giocatore, mi ha aiutato a fare tanti gol, diciamo, dai suoi assist.
The 3 Romanian players were in fact meant to miss tomorrow's game because of their national team's upcoming match with Czechoslovakia. However, after a panic mission to Bucharest by Lucescu, a deal has been done, although not a cheap one. The trio flew off to Czechoslovakia on Thursday and will only return to Italy tonight, returning then again to Czechoslovakia straight after tomorrow's game by private jet.
Sì, è vero, abbiamo fatto tutto per avere, perché anche per noi è una questione di immagine, una questione di vita.
Life and death stuff then for Brescia at the San Siro tomorrow. It's a game that'll have a major bearing on the future for Genoa, Fiorentina and Udinese. It's also a game that could well see Milan finally crowned champions of Italy once more.
And that's it for today. Join Peter Brackley and Liam Brady live tomorrow at the slightly later time of 3:15 as Milan bid to make up for Wednesday night's disappointments.